Yeah. Man, when I discovered the. Yeah, describing all these. Yeah. Take care of it. Different pages, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big difference. So. How are you?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, I think we're,
Yeah.
we have more on. Our chairs and like our chairs.
I love like that.
That should be everything this year, right?
Right, it's the book's not gonna happen, so.
Basically, like.
Yeah. You look like the guy who's.
Hey, everybody. Gary, you want everybody to know that we're gonna take we're gonna get started now.
Expensive.
Yeah, yeah. I hope, you know, well, that's the whole trying to vote, just that.
Okay, Gary, it's time to start.
Must be sixty. Oh, boy.
You get a couple of minutes, let people show or no? I'm doing executive stuff.
All right, everybody, it's, you're ready to call the meeting to order. Glad everybody can make it. Few that did, but we could on. Let's call this meeting to order, it's at 5:35. On June 11th. We're going to, Has everyone read before and read the rules of engagement and within the committee rather than going over it again? We all familiar with it? All right, then we will skip by that. We are going to continue on the path of different ideas for our goals. We'll put the stuff up on the board, but before I do that, let's go over last month's minutes.
I think you go to that one C, designation of chair and vice chair. Would you all like to handle that?
You want to do that part? Okay.
I know. I'm reading some agenda minutes for last month. I want to make sure everybody goes through that, the last couple of pages of that, but it is a very short time. Getting some ideas down, what we want to do for the rest of the year. And there's any other real corrections, we'll get you to be doing the chair and co-chair thing with the. I don't want to correct, so that it's. Instead of having two co-chairs, we'll have one chair and vice chair. And we've decided that, Gary should be chair and be vice chair. in my last year, doing other committees. This is a conversation for being on the committee. I've been over in 7 years, for 6 years, and this is my last year. I make the whole rules. Anyway. Speaking of rules, there's nothing else, that needs to be changed in place from last month. We got now.
And so we have a quick just approval, our vote on, so you're saying that
They changed the past, so. So Eric, asking for approval for the first consent agenda, in favor, say aye.
I'm sorry, maybe we can go back to, so we have a chair and a vice chair to fill out your terms, to finish out the co-chair and the charter frame and change that. And so the two talked, and Gary is chair and Mike is vice chair. And so if you will, like, have the committee vote on that, so just as approval.
Motion to further
Second.
So you approve those ones that consent agenda, say aye. Eight. So there's. And that is the big thing for this year, this is the goals and action for the rest of the year.
Can we, for the consent agenda, I thought there was some corrections to be made. So that was for the vice chair and chair. So now for the consent agenda, you had corrections to make with the minutes, right? Want to share those corrections so that we make sure we get them in the record.
All right, we're gonna have a vote to approve the minutes, but with a couple of corrections. Somewhere, Gary White and my name got switched around so it lists him as being co-chair and, me as being a member. Other than that, the minutes look pretty accurate, but somewhere along the line, the, AI or the whatever, the template or whatever, could have made the switch. So, other than that, I'd like to take a vote on approving the minutes, provided those corrections are made for accuracy of the record. Give me a minute to go over it. Everybody's, everything seems good. I'd like to have a vote to approve the minutes. All in favor? Any nays? So pass. With that being cleared up, we're going to continue on with the ideas of the board. We're setting our goals for this year. We'll let you, but I'm hoping this will be our breakout year, so we really get a chance to get this stuff done, make a difference. So, that being said,
All right, hello everyone. If you, for everyone that was here, last month, we started to kind of work on different goals that we're going to be working on, throughout the next year. And then we did vote on them. So the two that came in with the top, two were the resource familiarization. So basically what that consisted of was just, you all wanted to learn a little bit more about the resources in the area. Kind of gonna let you guys take it from there on that one. And then there's also the re-educating the public on the stigma. I know that it was kind of started a little while ago, and then we kind of stepped away from it for a minute, and you guys wanted to come back and revisit it. So with that being said, those two are the top ones on our agenda for today. We are going to work on turning these like kind of, they're concrete goals, but we're gonna make them a little bit more concrete. So we're going to designate leads. We're going to figure out exactly what these goals are gonna look like. We're gonna establish some dates for when they can be finished. And we're gonna talk about them a little bit. The only things that we do ask of you is that we do keep the comments brief. So although we definitely want feedback, we want a good discussion over it, we do want to make sure that everybody is able to speak. So we do have to give everybody a chance to participate. So, step up and step back. For me, I am a talker. So I have to remember that sometimes I have to step back. And so for those that are also talkers like me, try to keep that in mind with me today, and that we will try to step back. And for those that are a little bit more quiet, like Nita, they're gonna step up. So that's why Nita and I make a good team, is that we keep each other in check. So that's how we're gonna kind of work this whole meeting, is we're gonna keep everybody in check, everybody's gonna participate, and we're gonna get some really good goals, and action steps planned. The last thing that I'm going to encourage everybody is to focus on actions that we can take. So there are a lot of things that we really want to get done, but let's be like super realistic about what we actually can get done. So are we all going to fly to Washington DC tomorrow and change every homeless service in the whole entire United States? No, we're not going to be able to do that. So let's keep our goals and our action steps like really manageable and really concrete, so we can get this ball rolling forward. Achievable, absolutely, yeah, perfect. Does anyone have any questions before we begin?
The resource memorization one, I think we were focusing on someone who's never been homeless being able to access that information, these are not for us, but then.
Okay. I think so too. I think we're also kind of going to get into that a little bit whenever we talk about what does it look like. So get really specific about what we want this goal to look like. So it's kind of broad right now, the titles and everything. So you guys get to really hone in on what you want this to look like. So, Edith's gonna kind of take it from there, and then you guys can chip in and we'll all get this going, okay? All right, fantastic.
Okay, like, the same, we're going to start off with resource familiarization, and Gary had a really great.
Forgive me, I overlooked one thing. We do have a guest, and I would like to take a moment to introduce himself to all of you. I just caught myself, so. Have a great.
Hi, I'm Jeff Willis. I've been homeless now for 5 years. I'm living in my vehicle most of the time, so. My perspective.
I did. I have one big mouth.
She says, yeah, it's nice to meet you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here.
So, like Gary was saying, with the resource familiarization, what does it look like? So one of the things that you just said is that it doesn't look like this committee educating each other. It looks like it's going outside of that. So, does anybody else have any other idea of what this should look like? Is everybody in agreement with what Gary is saying it should look like currently?
I just wanted to, I'm not sure how exactly, but make it easier for people, like I said, who've never been homeless to access the information. But I first became homeless, I came out here and nobody wanted to tell me anything because they weren't getting anything for it. So I had to hunt down and search and figure it out. And a lot of people don't have the ability to do that. And they're stuck sitting on the side of the road when no, there ain't nothing, when there is, and they just don't have access. So in some way, we get them to actually, if they go to a shelter, they're given these resources right away, and to give you an idea. If 211, a lot of times when you go home for everyone, not for you, you know, they need to be more confused when they're starting.
I think that's great. So the question I have then is, what with the people in this committee, what are you all, the people in this committee, willing to do? What do you think this committee can do to make that better? Like, what work can be done within this committee to get those resources out more? What does that look like? So that's what we're.
These are good. And I take care of them everywhere and hand them out all the time. But, you know, a lot of people need septic and just, sorry. But a lot of people need septic in this book, so, a separately located number that, and 201 is supposed to do just that. That's why it feels weird to even say it out loud, but sometimes they keep you hold for an hour, and they make them on, people don't know what they're talking about, they say they'll call you back, and they never do. I've had a lot of problems giving any real information out to you. So maybe we could improve the education of scholars that the people down the phones get at 201 about how to introduce these resources to someone who's never been there.
And last time I dealt with them, like, I don't know, 10 years ago or whatever. It's the same. They told me to be MC Hammer first before they could help me. They wanted everything already done. That's exactly what I got to.
Since we're on this, precise topic, you know, I've said this before, it's my hope that this committee has access to privileged information that the general homeless do not. My hope is this committee will suck it up like a sponge. Take notes, put it in the books, take it out with you. You might not need it every day, but you're gonna run into somebody that's gonna need to know this information. And if you have the accurate information, there's our distribution. Because who are they gonna listen to? They're gonna listen to a social worker or a cop, or they're gonna listen to a fellow homeless person. Somebody that's been there, boots on the ground. That's who they're gonna listen to, and they're gonna trust that person over, you know, you, there's many volunteers who want out there with the information.
Utilization, there's something else on the FSC, such as resource utilization, resource qualifications. Because I am trying to review my, blue card healthcare, and I don't qualify. I think for 14 bucks an hour, and the 20 grand in the bank, and then you tell me they're qualified because they got a few dollars more in my homework shop. So, there's no more coverage. And therefore, I'm qualified. So it would have been helpful to know where I'm qualified for what the limits are. Because it's not just about, people being qualified, this is about, this is the limit you have for income assets. And that's something that's not really in the books, you have to dig out. And it's something I probably should be thinking of separate type of thing would be qualified. Limitation qualified with the blue card. For qualification for voting card, blue card, that sort of thing.
So just to make sure I'm understanding correctly before I put it in my own words up there. Are you talking about like the eligibility requirements for different things? So like what makes you eligible for certain services?
Like that. It would be something to look at, it'd be a little more details.
Okay.
Who qualifies and how they qualify.
Okay.
Just getting curiosity, there are a lot of income restrictions involving the blue card that you consider to impact. Okay, they're not as much. Now, there are some services that you give with the blue card you cannot get with Embedded, like dental. Okay, but the fact that you don't meet the criteria for blue card, you might be able to slip in a slot and achieve your medical coverage and better. Just a thought.
Okay, so these are some really great ideas that the committee is coming up with. But what does that actually that look like for them? Like, how are we going to actually accomplish these things?
This committee going to accomplish it. So people, if you are a committee member, think of that, like, it's not somebody else who does it. This is what your work is. Yeah. So what does that look like?
I give books out everywhere I go, and I just don't, and there ain't nothing for me to go around, you know, maybe if we had like a volunteer thing once a month where we got a bunch of high school kids or something, we take a stack of these and just go hand them out or something, more, or places where, you know, I mean, they stay in places like St. Barbara and stuff like that, and, you know, usually when you go and look for them, they're not there, these yellow books are going to talk about. So, more access to it somehow would be something that I would say. I have people that I live with, there's a lady, she has 4 children, and they're looking for places to volunteer, and they don't really know where to find that, and I wasn't sure what to tell them. I was gonna ask y'all about that today. But, just the way, you know, like, when he's saying more about, you don't wanna have to take a bus down there, spend an hour down there messing with it, and find out he's ineligible, he'd like to get that information before he does the traveling, so that he can, whatever movie he makes is gonna stick. And that's a lot of people have that problem.
And expand, and that was kind of what my thought was too, is part of the goal is to get these books into the hands of the people who need this information. So as a committee, wouldn't it make sense to figure out where those places are for these things to live? I mean, really?
That is action step. That is action step that this committee can take for sure. That's what we're talking about. It's not, there's a lot of things that can be done, so let's figure out what problem solving in this committee.
Yeah, these things are very good for the people who need this information. If they're not living in a spot where the people can find them.
Either basic, they don't know, they have no idea 6 months, they've been there, you know what I mean? They don't know what's there, they have no idea. Here's a portion.
Well, I mean, for an example, I asked him earlier today if we had taken a staff notes for the video game store. Listen, I go over there all the time. And I've delivered Narcan over there because they have that problem over
Let's
there.
bring it back to talk.
So, you know, these need to live somewhere in order for the information that's going to be collected.
On the topic of yellow books, and this is a friendly suggestion. As we all know, checking the information in the books, printing them, and is a costly expense. Versus handing them out like Halloween candy. Let somebody look it up, you know, write down the information they need, and then if they really need one, hand up, because I've also seen a lot of these yellow books like on the sidewalk, in the street. You know, give the opportunity to copy it down first. These are kind of like the white uniform, you know, they cost us a lot of money to make, to verify the information. A lot of times, and then these girls that speak with nights, you know, working late hours just to make sure all the information is verified. I just want us to run out of, I want them to get out on the street to the people that need them, but at the same token too, you know, I don't want to be out there just willy-nilly, just, you know.
Cards are good too if you've got the phone, you know, but a lot of people don't, you know,
Yeah.
especially when they first get out.
That's what I do, that is figuring out the issue.
Right.
One question I have for you all is, do you feel like you are familiar enough with the resources that are in this book? That if people come to you out on the streets, that you are able to share that information? Or do you think that maybe finding out more about some of these resources would help? Since there are only a limited amount of the yellow books, so that maybe you can run into someone. Do you all feel comfortable with that knowledge, or is that something that you would like to sort of like this stuff? You believe you have the knowledge? Okay, fantastic.
He's always doing something.
Okay.
you know, trying to do the same.
Okay, perfect. So you do feel like you have a good knowledge on everything there.
Things I don't know, like the last meeting, I needed help just to tell people now, which I didn't know that, but that was something I don't know.
Okay, absolutely. Okay, great, great. Okay,
That's my whole meeting.
sure. Maybe kind of touch base on some of those, some resources that are in the book so we can make sure that everybody's on the same page, but what the resources do and like what each of the things do, so we can make sure that we're all on the same page when we go out into the community and we pass out those yellow books, especially if we are handing them out, like, you know, like you said, like Halloween candy, I like that. So, yeah. If I,
It's over there.
you guys are thinking of great ideas. This is great.
I keep some from it back.
I was thinking, perfect.
And so what I say doesn't matter. Okay, like, right, the committee needs to, but so I'm just gonna help out though with an idea here, a couple of ideas. So one is what you already, that's beautiful. Something else that members of this committee could possibly look into, is to attend the information sessions that we put on. 4 times a year, and usually we just had a COC 101. That was this week, that was last Tuesday. And the one before that was about youth services, especially young people aging out of foster care.
Can we get a, like a reminder when it comes?
Oh, yes, and if you're on the committee, you're getting, like, make sure you're getting the constant contact, or, you know, and with the community calendar, and we talk about that stuff here. But we'll make sure that you get that information, because really, that's where you get more about eligibility, you start to really learn about eligibility. I can't tell you all the eligibility requirements for service, okay, but, and also what does what, so that's a great way. And then another thing I was gonna mention is that it is considered an action step to get educated. And so you've brought in presenters before around the topic that you really cared about, which may be, you know, I know you were talking about maybe going through, the resource guide and doing a quick, those through, whatever. Another idea could be bringing in presenters around certain topics that really are areas where, like, I don't know, like around the young person, right? So this is going to be, that is another, that is an action.
It might be a good idea, each person here to go over this. And because there's several omissions, errors in here, and write in your booklet, the corrections or additions or what have. Then maybe over 4 months, and then submit it together, so everything is together. And then maybe a committee or somebody can go over this, all the things, and so we can get a consolidated, correct update on what is being.
I know most of us have been out here long enough to look at some of the guys. You can see that, you know, deer in the headlight looks when eyes are scared, they don't know what to do, and I don't understand. And most of the people here too, we talk to people all the time. But it's, the things that we don't deal with on a regular basis, like youth or whatever, that you have to be phoned up on, you know. I had that there, but I talked to him for a while, I really didn't have anything for him, you know, so I get back to him, and I did. But that's right, yeah, I'd like to have some answers, because people, you know, freaking out, scared. And we can make them feel a little better, and there's a lot for self-esteem and stuff, you know.
This is one here with session. Thinking of companies on different side of this issue. And would be, it's a small thing, color code sections. so that it's easy to find, the blue, red here, red for housing. Don't get all the financial support, that sort of thing, just 3 or 4 pages. So maybe just one section that's red, and just there, those critical information. Figure out. One way to state of the,
Yeah, there's pictures. Each of those colors. It is, yeah.
I don't want to speak out of turn. We're here for support. I just want to, I want to make sure our chairs, are you okay with? We seem to be going off topic. So that's we definitely, I think that's a parking lot area that we'll talk about. But unless this committee, what is this committee? But think about things that you're willing to do yourself. Handing out yellow books, sharing resources, those are action steps.
That's the thing, see, nobody looks at. I'm not saying that you can't about like being here, but these being in strategic places. where
Yeah.
Things, that's what I want.
Town looks like you can tell somebody that you don't have money, you can go here, 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 and here, and there'd be something for you, you know, somewhere to go. In case you run out of books, because I do that a lot.
We can share with you where the books are, but you all,
It's changed, but
the majority are reserved for this group. So like,
we just make sure that whatever places are designated, stay on supply.
Friendly reminder,
Yeah, I know, it takes forever.
I want your opinion, comments on the record. You gotta have this, be up to your, please.
Sorry.
so I also think that we are gonna kind of move to the next portion, because I know that sometimes when I'm trying to come up with action steps, one of the things for me that helps is what does done look like, and how am I going to get to that? How am I going to get to that? So maybe if we figure out what done looks like, maybe we can get some of those action steps in place from there. So, what do we want done to look like for this resource familiarization? And I know that this is kind of something that's like an ongoing, it's an ongoing goal, but for the sake of this conversation and for the sake of this goal during this, 6-month, 12-month period, what do we want our done to look like?
What I just said up there, that, what that is, it doesn't look like having several places where books are, you can tell them to go.
Okay, perfect. We could, what else? What are some other things that done can look like?
That's just me, gives you books. Stop that for everything else, they don't have. Sorry.
How many books are you willing to, like, maybe you can commit to giving to another person? Who needs it? So, for instance, done could look like if this committee was to have distributed 15 books to people on the street, who do not have access to resources, or had a conversation with 50 people, that could be done. That we know, like, how many people did you meet with this week? 3? How many did you 2? And so each person could commit to, if you felt like it, not everybody has to a certain number of people that you're gonna have a conversation with around resources, and you're gonna report that back to the committee. That's an idea, that's an example of what done
Look
with
at
that.
that, right? It's not bad, I think that was.
Done is what it looks like where everybody should basically know what is in this book, and then you rattle stuff off out of this book without having. Because if you don't know what's in this book, you would basically then.
So while I think that's a fantastic goal to have, how are we gonna measure that though? Is what I'm concerned about. It's like, when we say everybody, do we mean everybody in this group? Do we mean everybody in the community? And how are we gonna know? Because and ideally, in the perfect world, I think you're gonna, how are we gonna? Okay, yeah,
Basically. Knowledge.
yeah,
And you get that.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. Or another one, I know you all talked about, and this is, again, this is just throwing an idea out there. I know you talked about getting, finding places for these to live. Maybe it's also, maybe it'll be a combination, it could be a combination of, we spoke with, we handed these books out to 25 people and we found 5 locations to place these books. So don't feel like the end goal, it has to look like just one thing. It can be a combination of things like that too. Or it could be that we handed these out to 25 people and everyone in this room has reviewed the book and feels comfortable with all of the resources in there. So don't hesitate to make this like a, kind of like a double goal type thing. It doesn't have to be just one portion.
I think if we could improve 211's education of scholars, would be one big one, because if they could give them a good idea over the phone, they can build the 3 numbers. And then, I don't want to give out too many books here, because like he said, that are going to use them, or throw down. But places where they could be, where if you need it, here's where you can get it, that way they have to go do something for themselves, and people that are going to use the books probably won't go get one, they just want you to give them one.
So then are you suggesting that you will also ask to speak with 211 and kind of educate them on those resources? Or how do you
say, let's see, if, and address them in a formal manner, but
Sure.
yeah, they think they know what they're doing, and I've met several times dealing with them that I got insufficient or no help at all. And I think that's sad, that they got all this stuff, written on the carol around and just read, like, read.
Okay. So how do we get that information to them? Okay.
I'd like to go down there and take a look at what's going on, and be like, you listen to a couple thousand times, but you tell them, Snap that.
Patient have to go to the lower political unit, and we are participating at a variety of places. I'm thinking, seriously, we can have a whole that unit for, English version of the local Bible picture. And we have obligations, we have a page, we have, directions for living, in the unit, certain locations, at least once a month rotating, so it's like the MMU does. Maybe at the same place that the MMU goes to. And we have intake, have resources, and we have, of course, we'll have applications of, we'll have information on what locations may have openings, what locations have, waiting lists, it would be useful to get that information out there, because same thing for people who don't do an MU, the scenes that people like us who may have nothing. Spitballing might be something useful to do once a month to all MU.
So, and I wanted to piggyback off what, City Gary White said, and that was, that talking about, the provider agencies that, So is that something that this group is interested in doing, in having a meeting with a provider agency? You mentioned a specific one. Or even like what, I remember with Safe Harbor, there was a lot of tours started to happen. And then that became eye-opening, where, right, and you're in, you can speak to that, and some other people too. I know I can, where after touring Safe Harbor, realizing, oh, okay, now I know that, and then have that conversation, finding out what's available. And then it becomes more of a, instead of a, you don't do the right thing, it's, oh, now I get it, and yes, actually, they do have these good services over here. Like, that sort of thing, so it's educating on both sides. So that is a possibility. That's something that can happen with this group. We can bring somebody in as a presenter, if that's another idea. I wanted to keeping it achievable with the committee here. That's really what we're trying to focus on. That's what you will do, not somebody else will do. What this group will do.
And, on the goal of memorizing the book is commendable. I'd like to lower the bar a little bit. Maybe not memorizing the whole book, but if you look at that book very carefully, that's very daunting. There's a lot in there. How about more like know where to find the area where Foley system to be located for this medical company, or that way when you're trying to refer somebody, you're not sitting there, pull up this book and it won't give you the aura of knowledgeable, and they might not listen to you as much, but maybe just know where to find it in the book. You know, familiarize yourself to know where to go, that's the back of the book, or that's in the middle of the book. We're not just trying to memorize the entire book. That would be a daunting task.
At least you know the appendix.
Well, I haven't memorized it. I know where to find it in the book, but I didn't try to memorize it. There's way too much information. I mean, each page is 15 to 20 entries. Right, how many pages? I'm just saying, I think it's an admirable goal. I think it's a little, bar is a little high. You know, just so that way that you can open the book, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I know where to find it, you know, yeah, yeah, right here. Be able to do that, and it will give the presentation of, you know, what you're talking
You got
about.
confidence of it.
Without having to say, hold on a minute, let me look for this, I know it's here somewhere.
That's why we have a problem with
That should be a little.
Yeah, you're the go-to
That's
guy.
why we have a problem.
This is, yeah. You understand anything, sir? You're more than welcome to chime in.
I'm a smart guy, you guys are.
I know you bashful. Okay.
The appendix in the front pretty much lets you know the basics, you have general food, shelter, IV, health, whatever, it's pretty quick to go through. But like I do this a lot, so see, we find a lot of people will come to us and every time we see them, they ask the same question, and I'm like, well, we have that, I'm just gonna make it, oh, I don't have that. Well, we'll get with that, I'm like, okay, well, I'll see you later. And if we give it books out to anybody, that, you know, just hit me up every time you see me because they want to talk to somebody. But, the people that do, you can tell, you know, you just go energy into it and, you know, talk to them, you can tell the people that will actually take advantage of it.
So we're gonna kind of go out of order again with our little list, and I'm thinking that maybe determining who the leads, it can be one lead, it could be two leads, who is going to,
Or it could be, how many people here are sold on that and are willing to do it, and then who will lead it?
yes,
I do.
yes. Do we have anybody that is like, I really like this idea, I'm willing to lead this initiative? Gary?
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, you think might be a lead?
What do you look like?
That's kind of, that's exactly what we're about to determine. So if you're the lead, I'm not gonna say that you get the ultimate say, like you have to run the whole entire thing, but you kind of like, you're just gonna be the leader.
But I very easily pick 4 or 5 places, and you know, we start to these. And, you know, everything else is pretty. Well, it makes that something to one.
It's,
Or, you know.
If you're willing to hand out books and speak with people and learn about the book, how many people are convinced of doing that? Right, so only one person is willing to do it. 2,
I do it already.
anyone, Gary? Because it may not be a good goal, if this isn't what you're really, if people aren't willing to commit to it. If you're willing to hand out resources, bring resources back, that you learn about, that book goes update, right? We know that. Bring back resources and share information with people that you meet. If that's something you in your heart, you really want to do, raise your hand. Okay, so there's our 3 people. Very good. And so every time we meet, we're gonna review these two pieces of paper, right? This will be great, I mean, it'll be final form and everything. But we're gonna review what the group decided to move forward with, and then just get a check-in on it. Like, how's that going? How many new resources? How many people, like, have you met with a lot of people? Like, what are you finding that you need? Are there areas that you're getting questions about that you don't know much about, like you transitioning out, we have new services or whatever it could be? And then bringing that to this group. So who will be the lead to commit to talking about that and who, we didn't have 3 leads on that. Honestly. So, okay, Gary White, Gary Small, and Silas. There we go. We got 3 people for that. All right, so if the 3 of you are the lead, what do you feel like is going to be your next step? Do you think it's going to be that you are going to get together and determine a time to meet outside of this group? Do you think it's going to be that you 3 are you going to review the outlook first? What do you think is going to be the very next thing that you do? What do you think?
I would like to set up something we can go on, talk to them and have them be more comprehensive in their information. I don't know if they'll take it, but I think that's a start because everybody knows the number, even if they haven't been homeless. They can call them and get what they need, and it won't be neat for us to run around and tell people what to do. But I do that anyway, so, you know. When I first got out here, like I said, nobody told me anything, and I've been around for months, going without stuff that I could have very easily went and got. And nobody, even other homeless people weren't even interested in letting me know. You know, and I was very vocal in my need. So that kind of pissed me off, and that's why I do it now, because I don't want other people to do it.
Do you think so, even though like that is, I feel like that's honestly a great goal, do you think that the 3 of you meeting up before then to determine like a time or how you're gonna get a hold of 211? Do you think the 3 of you want to meet up before then and kind of get a plan, like as of the logistics, like?
I think everybody always have to get a hold of them and tell them that, you know, we're not crazy and it's okay to talk to us. Really, frankly, all the guys called them in the man, I don't think we've ever done this before.
Okay, so maybe then the 3 of you meeting, and getting your goals in line and then reaching out to one of us and like whenever your plan is in place and you're like, we want to talk to 211 about this, this and this. And then we can assist in that facility. We can reach out to 211 and maybe we can. Right, absolutely, absolutely. You don't want to offend anybody. I completely understand that.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe you guys meeting up and deciding what you want that to look like, what you want that meeting with 211 to look like what exactly you want to talk about, so you can let us know, so that whenever we reach out to 211. Yeah, so that whenever we reach out to 211, we can have like a good plan in place, so. Absolutely, exactly.
Like you said earlier, if we act confident, then they're gonna listen better, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like maybe the best next step would be to get together and to get your plan in place. And then let us know what your plan is, and then we can, go from there. Absolutely. Okay, perfect. When do you want to have that done? When do you guys want to meet by?
We don't have anyway.
Okay, so next meeting?
We'll talk about next meeting, Wednesday.
Okay. So we'll touch base on the next meeting. That sounds fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, no. But I need the mic or.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Just walking this park around, I will get used to it eventually. Here you go. I'm so sorry. It's your first day.
What I would suggest for the, books, and I'm not, you know, we're living in the time of the internet, I know these books cost money, but I'm gonna throw them away. But one obvious place for me to put up all those little libraries, you know, you see the little libraries, I have one. There's not as many people down, but I know that all kind of work hard, you know, put someone in there, make the bus help those people. So that to me would be like kind of an obvious one, just throwing, and it's very low effort, you know. Most people are probably no one or two, they go near.
Yeah, great.
Great idea, great idea.
Anywhere it serves food, any church that serves food.
Sure.
Concrete there.
And if you want to be part of this group too, because I think that's a fantastic idea. So if you want to be part of this group and if you want to meet up with them, you know, absolutely. So just because they're the leads, it doesn't mean it's excluding everybody else.
I think that would be some very simple thing, probably almost everybody here knows one of those, the proximity one.
Yeah.
I'm happy to make like staff, periodically, let them in, you know, still one or two that I know. So that would be, I just think that would be really easy.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah, no, that sounds fantastic. I agree, that's great.
The idea is about having a coach in one line.
You-
Okay.
Let's hold on, so that's a separate meeting that you will get together and decide about. We have to move on and get this next, step going.
So the next step that we're gonna go through, we're gonna actually kind of switch up the way that we go at it. Again, we're gonna go for the leads first on this one. Okay? So we kind of spoke about it a little bit. It was educating the public on the different stigmas that surround homelessness. I know you all kind of got started on this a little bit. Is there anybody that has thought about this since the last meeting or has heard about it and they're like, I would really be interested in being a lead on this? Is this something we are still interested in doing?
And this had to do also with advocacy and education. So, it was a lot of different ways.
Basically educating the public, which we're not, we're not in touch with enough of them to know that make a difference in ability to, like we made a poem once. Something that's going to a lot of people with one, they're here that, homeless people are human too, they deserve to be treated like humans. Whatever it is that you want to say, package it in a way that you can go to a mass amount of people, but a flyer or a virtual, it's something pretty basic. But it gives people wow, what are you talking about? You think you can be an homeless myself. You know what I mean? And just to give them an idea to put themselves in our shoes for a little bit and see what it feels like. And then maybe it feels a little differently or,
So publishing maybe like newspapers, we have our website, of course, we can put anything that this group has approved to the board. All kinds of ways. And I'll remind you that when we had the Pinellas, so the legislative delegation, so that's all the people who were voted on, you're elected officials who represent you in the state and the United States Congress. They were here and there were members from this committee who did get up and speak in front of them. And that is a way to get involved and to do that. You actually do have quite a bit of channels to get through.
I also do want to remind you of some of the things that we discussed last meeting, just in case, we're kind of unsure what falls into this category. I know last meeting we discussed, potentially people reaching out to schools and going into classrooms and discussing them. The Great American Teaching Event, I know that was another thing that we discussed. Various public events. So all of those kind of fell under this category too. So kind of on the lines of what you were talking about, but I just wanted to kind of jog everybody's memory on what this would look like. Because I feel like this is a topic that comes up time and time again in the meetings. And I would hate to scrap the idea just because we can't make something like solid and concrete out of it right now. So I did just kind of want to throw a couple of things that we spoke about out to see if anyone maybe does want to rethink. Maybe taking the lead on something like this, or.
What would you enjoy? Who enjoys public speaking or writing or art? What would get you excited to do something that's about educating the public? To yourself doing it, what would that look like? That's what I'm wondering about. Is there, Michael? Okay, Gary, you enjoyed getting, you got in front of the legislative delegation. Did you enjoy that?
Plan to again.
And you plan, so then you are, so that is something, there we go. That is an action that can be done by somebody on this committee or a group that's. They do also have, social emotional learning, curriculum within the Pinellas School District. I think in that case, it would be like maybe talking with teachers or.
That's exactly what I'm looking at.
Yep, exactly. And so there are actually people that go out into classes and they teach a social emotional learning curriculum. And I know that they would be more than happy to meet with you and to kind of discuss like what your, your experiences and what your story is, so that they can kind of keep that in mind whenever they go, and they actually, they call it pushing into classrooms. So they can keep in mind that they have, people that they are teaching in their classrooms that are also homeless. And they can kind of learn from your experience, so whenever they go to those social emotional learning classes, they can have a better idea of what homeless looks like in the community. So that would be another thing. They're not actual teachers, they go through like a different agency. But, if you were interested in something like that, I know that I could, I know that we could probably link you up with that program. So you could just kind of tell your story about what, because I promise you, there's a lot of this community that does not know what homelessness looks like. They have a stereotype of what it looks like in their head. And, I think that you all would be you would be great people to tell about what it really does look like.
From my experience, it seems like kids would be the hardest one to meet with that. Because if they're homeless in school, they're not gonna mention it, nobody, nobody. So they're not gonna bring it up. I live with a lady right now with 4 kids, and the kids aren't really interested until mom got interested in like volunteering, and they talked to them, and now they're on board, but they needed that adult supervision in order to have the maturity level. That's what I real want. So maybe the parents are before the target audience, right? You know what I mean? If they got sympathy, they know what's like, maybe those are better than look at the kids, they're gonna be hungry, going out. You know, the kids don't really, they know they can really make fun of you if they expose themselves to any kind of rapid. That's,
So does that look like we got a parent conference meeting?
Us.
your flags and parenting competition.
So maybe like getting flyers and parent teacher conference would be something. Yeah, absolutely. Or even, like even when we talked a bit earlier, maybe it would be, talking to teachers, not so that necessarily the kids can understand it, but so the teachers can know how to, they know how to treat their kids that they do know are homeless, because I know sometimes they do know that. They can be mindful of their situation, and they can know what it really does look like, so that they're better able to get to those parents, you know?
It's not like a daily moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it could be like less of a punitive type of thing, or maybe it will explain some of their behaviors in the classroom, maybe they didn't sleep all night, maybe you can let teachers know like, hey, sometimes homelessness looks like not sleeping all night, so if there's a child in your classroom that's really extra tired and they're homeless, maybe the reason that they're not sleeping, maybe it's because they're not sleeping well, and they're not trying to be defiant. So it just gives an extra layer for people to see, different kinds of actions and different kinds of situations in different ways. It humanizes things.
And for me, I don't think you just have to think about it from a younger kid standpoint. You can think about it from a college kid standpoint. Like I know it would have been a great help in a social work class to be able to speak to other people. community. Like it will change a lot of things and a lot of stereotypes there. And you're able to get them before they can get active. So that's one of the things that you can think about too, not just younger kids.
That's right. So this, again, these are ideas, and then we should shut up. We should stop, like, okay, really, if you're not doing, it has to be something that excites you, okay, that you want to do. So if some people want to go speak in front of the, like to go speak in front of legislators, I know Norman likes to write, I know that. I know Michael has done some work with art to poetry. I know that there was a great exercise that was done with a brown paper sheet, that had, and that can go on our website if you wanted, like, things like that, that get out in public, that's great. But, there was something social, I just have to say, that's another angle to this, is educating people before they get into the field, before they become service providers. So those college students or in social work classes, man, they absolutely, if that was anything that any of you were interested in as a one person as a group, or you wanted to bring people into the LEAC meeting so they could just observe and participate, that is another option. And depends on what you like, but that's kind of it. Is there anything else that, what do we have, can you review what we have on the second list, educating public?
So right now. So right now we have publishing a flyer or a story on the HLA website or newspaper for the local. And then what it does look like, we have speaking with the legislative and then giving flyers to elementary schools on homelessness and what that looks like.
Did any of the other ideas speak to you? Anybody want to take any of those or no? If we just, you want to stick with that?
I think we would say the ideas towards 100% to, kids. You don't want to be like bring your dad into work day and first of all, fireman. And more, I mean, versus someone who's stereotyped. Those, one got big beard, bag clothes. That's nice. When I had it like, second year shift. And I'm not here, but the Alfred stores. And the back of Alfred stores. Can be done in a humorous way. But points out that, just because someone made sure it's a little different, it's slightly off, doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean no one's worse. Just that, take a look at people. And that's effectively what Wilson said. People want to have all the big open record store on. So it's not usually even in their home. So, in a way that's, that's at an angle, not super head on, with you effectively in terms of reaching people. And using stories and ideas like second-hand trip or whatnot, and make sure that people know. And because chances are, eventually kids are gonna have classmates who are homeless, who are barely holding on. And they're gonna have to get me down, they're gonna have things that are gonna look slightly off, maybe slightly smaller, maybe slightly lighter sneakers or shoes. All they can afford. So what it comes down to is making sure people realize what they see is not always what the reality is. If you're just forwarding, stigma is you're poor. If you're just rich, rich. But there are a lot of people who are rich with money and are just as much as hanging on as all the people here. So you gotta be said that if it comes to you don't do the anti-statement thing, it doesn't do the whole range. What looks like, not always what it looks like. You keep that in mind and match. But always the person or the story behind. That makes it relatable, that makes it. Say, hey, not really what we learned in school today. Almost just like us. Or they mean like us, or they're just like you. So. Good thing.
Agreed. So with the two that we have, with the speaking with, the legislative bodies, does anyone want to kind of take the lead on that? As we talk about it a little bit, does anyone feel like that's something that they want to do? Gary, I know that you said that that might be something you want to do. Yeah.
I think, right?
You're gonna let somebody else do it for now, but you're gonna step back. Okay, what about
The lead isn't the right word. Maybe I put lead down, but let's go beyond that. You said you're going to speak. You said you're going to speak in front of the legislative delegation, right?
Yes.
So then, are you putting your name on this that you're going to do that?
Yes, I think I will.
Okay, Gary, we're gonna put you down. When do you want to do that by? When do you want to do that by? Give a goal?
That happens.
I'm developing a wider goal, trying to bring awareness now, because we have a lot of drivers not paying attention. And to a lot of the homeless community, the county needs to recognize how much the county is actually more on bicycles now, or, you know, that's, but they're being made as a safety transportation.
Okay, so
So,
how could you make people aware of that?
well,
Also make.
right now, they've got pretty, as far as enforcing current traffic laws. For instance, people don't stop the stop sign, and they think they learn to drive on death race 2000 game or Grand Theft Auto. And we're not enforcing what we currently have. You know, maybe raise the penalties more for drivers causing bodily injury and that on bicycles. They just don't care.
Who could you speak with about that?
Legislators, state representatives, commissioners,
Perfect.
anybody that sits in the seat
Okay.
about that.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So if that's something that you wanted to.
Right.
Yeah, so sure.
I mean, I have intimate knowledge of the fact that drivers just don't pay attention anymore. You know,
Yeah, that's,
I mean,
absolutely.
you go to an intersection when you're in elementary school. They teach you to look both ways. You're in middle school, look both ways.
Okay.
You know, you're in driver's ed in high school, you gotta look both ways. Take the driver's test. I'm an adult, I have my own car now, I'm just going.
All right, so no, sounds great. So what do you think your very next steps would be in that area?
Well, I find that trying to get them to, deal with funding issues and that coming forth is pretty high now. So I'd select the lower, more easy achievable goal. If we could save a few lives on the street, just by, you know, and these are laws that are already on the books. So it's not like we have to get legislators to pass it. Just be nothing black enforcing it.
So maybe getting.
I want to clarify. So Pinellas County, the Pinellas legislative delegation is an actual thing that he has spoken in front of before. They just don't have a meeting scheduled just yet. So it's a literal, that is a real thing. That is the thing that he's talking about speaking in front of. He
we wouldn't know when we might want to meet. We
Just
can't
find
rely
out.
on it.
So just basically by their next meeting, so then
Yes.
maybe the next goal, one of the next goals would be to find out when their next meeting is or to listen to it and make sure that you're, make sure you have access to all those resources that are going to, like, how are you gonna find out when their next meeting is?
Yeah.
Maybe your next goal is to make sure that you keep in touch with Sherry and make sure that we inform you like with that. And so you're like up to date on all the information about when they're gonna be running their meeting and you can like start getting your ideas in order. Maybe that would be a good next step for it.
Yeah, I agree, that
Put it for that under their agenda for whatever the meeting's about, because, that way they got opportunity to address it.
Yeah.
I don't have.
You get to sign up.
Okay.
So whenever they come out, I put out an email to everybody. We let you know. We did it last time. That's why Silas and Gary showed up.
Yeah.
And then Kathleen and I and other people from the COC. And so when that happens, you should register.
That would be a good next goal. Let's make sure you're checking your emails, make sure you are ready to register, make sure you have your ideas in order. That would be a great next goal for that.
I probably should be taking on it, but, I'll admit my fault. I was kind of waiting for Sherry to give me a heads up saying, hey.
And I don't, it sounds like Sherry doesn't know either, but it sounds like we're all kind of waiting, so maybe while we're waiting, you can start to get your ideas in order. And we can just wait for it to happen again, and we can make sure that we're diligent with passing on the information and you're diligent with checking your emails. And so that we're not just sitting there, waiting for time to pass, you can kind of get everything in order.
We all have a general understanding of how slow our government is to responding to things. But there's been so many vehicle, pedestrian, bicyclist deaths. The DOT actually started a program handing out bike lights. I handed out 500 cents.
Great. That's great.
So the fact that the DOT itself has mentioned it's recognizing that problem.
Yeah.
And it's easier to bring it up to the spotlight.
Yeah. All right, well, there were a lot of really good ideas today.
Just how you for the soccer. I don't go on my bike for a few months and it's,
Okay.
I mean, I had probably about a dozen incidents.
Okay.
Last year.
Great, this is fantastic. This seems like an area where you all are really passionate about. And I'm really excited to see that because that's where we want the goals to be. It's stuff that we're passionate about. So if you're passionate about, the biking and like keeping the safety and raising awareness and stuff like that, we can definitely cater that goal and we can kind of steer it in that way. It sounds like that might not be everything that you want.
It is bike safety and,
Yeah, it just has to be.
Okay, yeah, great,
It's the important preparing.
great.
Nobody's gonna do anything different than what's in this.
The ultimate goal of that is to save lives.
Perfect. Okay, well, that was great. That started off as one thing and kind of ended somewhere else, and I think that it ended in a great spot. I think it ended somewhere where you all are passionate about. So I know we are kind of waiting for the date to come out and everything like that. So what do we want the next step to be? Do we want to meet and talk about like some ideas, or do you just kind of want to hang out for a minute and just make sure you're still paying attention to those emails?
I would like to just find out how to get something.
What's going to mean to
And they want to press.
Sure.
I would, how short, you have to come with your prepared speech or
Yeah.
97.
write your 90-second speech. There you go, write a 3-minute one and a 90-second one, or a 3-minute one and a 1-minute one. And I'll get another idea for you to practice it here, not necessary, but that's one thing to do, is to get prepared. I think is what they're going for, yeah.
Are you guys comfortable with making that your first step? It's just kind of starting to get your thoughts together, get prepared for that. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. All right, so we will touch base on all of this next week, see how everything, or next month, see how everything is going. Just double check, make sure that the address. Okay, great. That's the agenda.
I don't think we should, if we have any stories on any updates on anybody about the camping law, that in effect for over a year now. Year and a half. So it would be nice to see if we have any negative, that way, to see if we have any negative effects on the camping law in this community here. I've got some stories of negative, places of every day it does. And I heard in our church, charity partners, for the asking of it. And the last couple of years, I don't think very asking of it. It's a couple of years ago, I remember asking, charity from each other, if there any negative effect of them or whatever, now, it's a good thing. I'm looking to stay that way. But if you have any negative exposure over that, that would be nice to make sure that we're on top of that. But it's still something long. And the government, and folks that it council know that, that's nothing wrong. It should be revealed. Given the state, it's not going to happen. And one was thinking of the area of the time. I work at Walmart, and see a lot of lights, something now. I have, a lot of coworkers, but I have a lot of coworkers who don't want to eat my two regular lights, and I got a ton of big companies. This county is not. Even though we have bike lanes and all that, we have nice, those trails going down through the county. It's not particularly safe. Bicycles. So we still gotta be extremely careful out there. That we're seeing, like the other light. It's just not safe, and I'm not near enough to another stretch to use it regularly, so you still gotta be careful.
That's kind of a good, that's not hard, man.
On a bike. On a bike.
Thinking about it.
Yeah, guy.
I can make it happen.
There'll be some stuff to us for it.
Yeah, two people.
Right now, you totally.
Next on the agenda? We have about 10 more minutes left, and I'll let everybody know.
Any resources? Resource update, says mentally staffed, so.
We updated that today, should be you.
Okay, I, bike ministry is going well. It's expanded, it's covering people all the way down from, Mirror Lake, all the way up to Pinellas Park, and, as far as, we got quite a few people involved with it. I just dropped out the large delivery to Trinity. I can't distribute them all myself. So my overflow, I pair enough of them, and then I took like 5 or 6 of them today, down to Trinity, and, before I got to leave, I hooked up a gentleman with one nice pump. So,
You really took a ride last night, if I could get them, they were really happy with it.
yeah,
You know, right.
so, as I said, it's not trying to do anything for it whatsoever. The idea is to give people cheap transportation. That's simple. They don't have to rely on this person or that person to get to go. And the whole idea is to get my hands up, and back. I don't have any knowledge of any new resources coming available. I pretty much let everybody know of anything that I can call window. Of course, as that changes, thank you. As that changes, I will share that with all of you.
That I'd like to address. That's it. Can I get an idea of what to tell the girls about how to, they're really interested in volunteering, they want to help food banks, maybe work around, house for candy, whatever it is. They're willing to do whatever, they're just having a hard time finding a good place to find like a portal or something where they can fix that, I don't know if there's anything that I'm missing, or maybe she said she needed me, the girl that I looked with, would be willing to make a portal, something that we could bring to the table, and see if it's something good or not.
Is there something on the Philip website or the COC that allows you to sign up for volunteering?
There is, on the Pinellas CoC.org, there's a volunteer section. And so the way that people can sign up to volunteer is all provider members who have volunteer opportunities. And then it looks to them. Pinellas CoC.org.
And they can put the name in the hat, get involved.
I have a good news story. I had the opportunity on May 20th and May 30th to go to two in-person hurricane experts. One was with the city of Seminole, and they had a guest speaker. If you knew good, Hey News 9, the meteorologist Brian McClure. At first, I met him. He's excellent. He's very extremely knowledgeable. And he gave some insights about the hurricane season, like what we can expect and so on. And there were a lot of vendors, exhibitors there. The Pinellas County Office of Emergency Management, and I gathered a lot of material and information relative to that. The other expo was the Pinellas County Clearwater Hurricane Expo. They had an awful lot of people there from all areas of any kind of information, because there were shelters there, material, libraries, again, the Office of Office of Emergency Management, those, with all the material, all the things you might need for, in a hurricane situation. And it was all very, very comprehensive and knowledgeable. And I was glad to get, you could get, there were other things, which were handouts, like little flashlights, which you might need, in the dark, or you have no light. Very, very excellent. So I would recommend, next year. I don't think they have any more this year, but if they do, that was very, very important. Consider big news for the meeting. And I guess the good news is right now it may not be very active hurricane season, because it's very good news. Check out what there's a lot coming on. And if you want to invite anybody to next year's reporters, And I think the next CSC meeting will be a presentation of the picture. That's what you can, you know,
Strategic plan.
yeah. What's always relevant to our interests, as they say. Yeah, let's see. I haven't heard the final move of the chart, I think it's a pretty good care of that. Was it with any changes, I think, you know, we're still going through that.
We just, it's there so that you always have it, you can always access it. So that's the final approved charter. And so you'll always have it in your minutes or your meeting agenda.
Or anything, everybody, anything up there, we'll do on this and over reviews and comments. If not, we've had a good meeting tonight, we had attended some goals and some ideas and things what to do next. And now we have a meeting on the 9th, so it's after July 4th, so I have to say for happy July 4th, prepare for the fireworks. I'm doing things stupid, like holding an name in your hand. Every day. And be careful and be mindful of your furry friends that you got to set up. Other than that, safe and happy 4th of July, and we'll see you next month. And the meeting is adjourned.
Right.